Hi, and welcome to another podcast from Odelle Technology. Today we're talking to Nicolas Bégin, the Chief Operating Officer of CUREETY. Hello, Nicolas.
See you, Stephen.
Nicolas, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind telling people about how you've ended up where you are today, and telling us about your professional background.
Happy to. I went to business school, started my career in investment banking, then spent a few years there, moved on to become an investor for a multifamily office based out of London, and then decided I wanted to move to the other side of the fence and join a startup, which I did around 3 years ago. I joined CUREETY as Chief Operations Officer, and I've been there since then.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about the company you're with now?
Yeah, so we are a French company specializing in the remote monitoring of patients suffering from cancer. So remote monitoring when it comes to cancer is mostly about monitoring the adverse events that come either from the pathology itself or the treatment. And we've developed a certified medical device, which is basically questionnaires, and to each questionnaire is associated a clinical classification algorithm, which is going to analyze the patient answers and either based on we assess the level of risk, and based on the level of risk, we're going to create alerts that are going to go to the hospital team so that they can take appropriate action.
So the system is reimbursed currently in France. I think you were part of the first PCAN project, weren't you?
Yes, remote monitoring has become reimbursable in France. The way it works is they say there are two ways to access to obtain that reimbursement. One of them is we call the BECAN, which is the accelerated access, and we were the first company in France to obtain it last summer.
And that's made a significant difference to the level of activity that you're undergoing right now.
It has, and I think obviously it solves the business model issue for which I think a lot of startups in the digital health space have. And so we don't have that problem anymore. We are paid by the state for every patient that we monitor. What's most what's important to know is the way that France has um, organizes reimbursements. There's a fee for us as the medical device manufacturer, but there's also a fee for the hospital, which is not the case in Germany, for example, under the DIGA. And it's made a huge difference because it's allowing hospitals, which for a lot of them have already invested time and resources, human resources, in monitoring patients through the phone, to now do it with a medical device and get paid for it. And that has created a huge momentum on the market. I think, without being too bold, I think within the next 18 months to 2 years, every hospital or major hospitals doing oncology in France is gonna have a remote monitoring solution.
I hope so. I think it's a wonderful system. Tell me, how many patients have you got on the system currently?
Currently, a bit over 6,000. We are now onboarding. We are significantly increasing the number of patients onboarded each month. Last month was 700. I think within 6 months we'll have doubled that. And so our hope for the year 2024 is to onboard between 10 and 13,000 patients.
But what is the unmet need that the system is looking after? How does the system work to solve a problem?
Well, I guess the medical need is quite simple. Is if you monitor patients closely, you're going to treat them better. So the need is there, and I think every medical team is aware of it. The question is more the the human resources that you put in front of that need, and that's been the key issue for a long time. Is you can have you have that need, but you're not going to hire 20 nurses to check on patients every day and so on. It just doesn't make any economical sense. And what we have done is through the way the medical device is conceived, is going into a bit of details. As I explained earlier, it's questionnaires. And based on the questionnaires, we have in each questionnaire, which is specific to the cancer treatment, we have adverse events and grades of adverse events based on the scientific literature, grading how adverse events are graded in oncology. To each grade, we have a score. And basically, we have algorithms where we have attributed a score to each grade of adverse events, and the algorithm makes a sum of the scores associated to each patient response. And based on the total score, we have a level of risk. So what do you do with that? You have 4 levels of risk, and it's simple, color system, green, yellow, orange, red. And the way we have developed the system is green and yellow. We tell patients, well, actually, it's okay. You shouldn't call the hospital. You're doing all right, but you have mild diarrhea, which is normal. So drink water. So we give them advice on what they need to do to manage these grade 1 and 2 adverse events. When a high level risk, orange and red, then we tell the patients, do call the hospital, either urgently or not, to be taken care of. So that's very reassuring for patients. And what we're going to do is try and solve the medical problem, which I talked about earlier, which is making sure the orange and red patients are being taken care of as early as possible, so as to ensure they don't come for their next treatment completely dehydrated or have to go through the ER, have to stop treatment for a while, be hospitalized, stop, and with the loss of chances that go with it. So that's the medical need. And then what we have done through the system is by giving advice automatically to patients and reassuring them, is reducing the number of inbound calls for the hospital team and making sure they do have the time to take care of the orange and red. And we've actually started to measure that because we have an ongoing clinical study in France, which is looking at the reduction in inbound calls for minor adverse events. And we have preliminary results that are very, very positive. And I can't say more at this stage. We'll be publishing the data in a few months.
That's very exciting. What sort of cancers do you focus on?
All types. So all cancer types, all treatments and protocols. And one of the strengths of our platform is to have gone quite deep into the medical sides, and we have developed questionnaires per class of drug. So rather than which have similar toxicity profiles. So we have a questionnaire for chemotherapy, we have one for immunotherapy, we have one for immunochemo, and so on and so forth. At this day, we have 72 questionnaires and associated algorithms.
And have you developed the questionnaires and algorithms yourself?
No, I'm not a doctor. We have a scientific committee that is helping us do that. And our medical director, Dr. Amaya Gutierrez, is the one who originally conceived the system. And what's important is we have a system that we are keeping up to date as new treatments come to the market. And every year we do a study to measure the performance of our algorithms. And the last study we have presented at ASCO in June in Chicago, we showed that we had a sensitivity for red alerts, the most critical alerts, that was of 96%. So we are very, very good at identifying those situations. But as interestingly, we had an overall specificity of 94%, which means only 6% of false positives. So, and that's very important in a clinical trial. You have clinical research assistants that call back patients here in routine care. You don't have that, so you can't be generating too many false alerts that take time and require resources.
So it's quite an impactful solution. Dealing with PCAN, was that a difficult process?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. We had pre-meetings with the French National Authority where they guided us specifically on the fact that they were expecting data on the performance of the algorithms, which pushed us to publish that first study I talked about just now. And then we knew from what had been published as to the reimbursement framework that The first level of reimbursement was around organizational benefits. So we made sure we would present studies that the health authority would be confident would, if positive, respond to their requirements, and the Bacon came through. So
Absolutely. All right. Well, I've spoken to a number of clinicians in France who have been very, very impressed with the outcomes at this point in time. Have you got what are the plans for the future?
well, several things. First of all, we are very focused on the French market as of now. There's a business model. We have the right platform, and we are also focused on gaining market share and ensuring we have 50, 60, 70% of hospitals working with us. And in France, the next step will be to try and go further than the organizational benefits. There are higher reimbursement levels for quality of life, morbidity, and mortality benefits. So we have studies. We are launching currently studies aimed at at demonstrating these types of benefits. One of them is a very important one, is promoted by Unicancer, the Federation of French Comprehensive Care Centers. It's a phase 3 randomized study in triple negative breast cancer, which is going to be conducted in around 60 patients, 60 centers, 500 patients. So very, very ambitious program. So that's for France. And then we are starting to look internationally at other countries that might look to reimburse technologies like ours.
Unicancer is a prestigious organization. When does that trial start?
Ethical committee approval was actually submitted a couple of weeks ago, so it should start in around 3 months.
Oh, congratulations. That's good news. Okay, so the solution can be used both on a mobile platform and a laptop.
Yes, it can. Actually, it's for hospital users, for the care team, only on laptop, and patients can use either.
Okay, and does it talk to an electronic healthcare record system at all?
Of course, it has to. And what we do there is three things. We receive from hospitals patient identities. So we receive also appointment data, and then we send back everything, all the data that we collect to the EHR. And that's mostly, obviously, for legal reasons, but mostly for the doctors, because the doctors are not the main users of our platform. It's the nurses. And the doctors need to know what the nurses are doing, what toxicities have been reported by patients, and they don't want to connect to our platform. They want to have everything on the EHR.
Yes. Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I suppose it's actually being a nurse-centric device makes
It
it a
is.
very useful device indeed, doesn't it? Because that's the first point of contact.
Yes, it is. It's the platform is usually, at least in France, and we're seeing it's not exactly the same organization elsewhere, especially in Italy, where we're starting to develop. Is in France at least, patients have an appointment with the doctor, and then they have another one with the nurse who's going to go into a bit more details about especially adverse events, and the nurse is going to be the one introducing the device to the patient.
Okay, that's very clever. I think that's a smart idea in the community. Well, Nicolas, I'll talk to you again in 6 months' time. I think what you've achieved is outstanding, and the relationships that you built across France are probably second to none. So, congratulations on the PICAN and the great work the company is doing. I think it's outstanding.
Thank you very much. Talk to you in 6 months.